Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a garage auto sports billet insert for a CREC supercharger snout. Stay tuned. For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, I am simply talking about a supercharger for an Audi. I have a 2017 Audi A6 with a 3.0 supercharged motor in it. Little information here from 2016 to 2018. The supercharged motors that came in these cars are also known as a CREC, basically an engine code, in other words, that came with a different supercharger. Now, when I say different supercharger, as you guys can see, this snout area right here actually has a clutch assembly. Now, the one I currently have on my car is actually welded, so it becomes solid. If you could imagine, the rotors in here all spin together with this, and that gas billet is going to be replacing the welded style, modified style that I have. Now, as to why I'm switching from a welded style to a billet style, well, the billet style that Garage Auto Sports actually offers is the correct fix for this. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when I take apart that snout. Stay tuned. Okay, so just to give you guys a little information, obviously what I have in front of me here is just a spare snout. This is the billet insert, a little bit of a closer up look. It's actually well done. It looks awesome. Kind of sucks that it's going to be hidden, but the quality's there, you guys. I mean, this is it. This is one solid piece. And it's billet, of course, so it's got weight to it. It's actually weighed to be matched with what's currently inside of this. So there's not going to be any kind of weird rotor issue or misbalanced issue when spinning. Of course, if you guys can imagine, this is spinning at, I don't know, 7,000 plus RPMs, probably more than that. Who knows? Anyways, into specifics of that, you know, with a CREC engine, it's not only the supercharger that's different. There's many more. I'm not going to go in depth with that. You guys can do your research on that. So basically, with this spare snout that I have here, I've actually taken it apart before. Let me get the camera a little bit closer. I've taken this apart before. Only reason why is because I'm actually going to get a painted one, paint match to the current supercharger that's going to go on the car. But that's a whole nother video. If you guys watch my last videos, you guys will see when I did the reveal of a Vast AZ blower, which is a glacier black with red valve covers. It's going to look amazing. This is going to be painted the same color. So with that being said, what we have here is the snout, which is currently off the supercharger, obviously. In order to get this off the supercharger, you guys can see the 4 bolt holes here. I don't know the exact sizes. They're on the car. I know they're, I believe they're 12-point sockets, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that. Again, it's a very simple process, but the supercharger does have to come off the car in order to remove this. So that's the only downside of doing this job. You actually have to take your supercharger off unless you modify a cover that goes on the back of this piece here. If you modify that, you could drill a hole in the top, which would lead you to, and I'm going to flip this upside down. Again, I've taken this apart before. I have all the bolts loose. I do have all the sockets here to give you guys information, what you'll need to obviously take this apart and, you know, put this in. So it is a very simple process. As I flip this upside down, bolts came out, and I'll show you guys where these go in a little bit. But there is a cover, a black cover that goes right here that has a hole, that has like some sort of like little peephole right here that you would stick a socket in. And if you guys see, let me get this up here a little bit closer. But if you guys do see, there is actually, this is where a socket would go through here, which this is kind of a clamp that would squeeze against, basically there's a snout, there's the rod that comes out of the supercharger that would go in here, and there's a key. There's that little keyway. I don't think I have mine up here. It's actually downstairs with the supercharger, but there's a key that you would line up with the snout. Again, this is a strict video just for the installation of this. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge with the information I have. Now, again, as I mentioned, I have everything loose here. I've taken this apart before. The torque specs to this, I'll list the website from Garage Autosports down below in the description. They actually put an instruction manual basically with all the torque specs. They do say that you do need to install some blue Loctite. It does come with new hardware, and I'll open this up and I'll show you guys all the new hardware that it does come with. So you're not going to be reusing the old hardware. You will be taking off of this. So kind of get into the video here to the main important part of things, where as you can see everything is loose. I'm going to kind of put everything in place, and I'll show you guys basically, you know, the socket sizes that you'll need to get everything apart. One big thing is I do have this nice little kind of like little ratchety wrench here, which is amazing. This thing I use for everything on this car. To start, we have a T30 Torx bit. Basically, you know, pop it in here, break these bolts loose. As I mentioned, everything is loose already, so I'm going to take all 3 of these bolts out. There are 3 of them, as you can see, one there, and one there. I should mention that obviously you have your pulley that would go on here. It's just 4 bolts. Take the pulley off if you want. You don't necessarily have to. I don't foresee it. Actually, you may need to, but I don't see it being in the way. If you want, you could kind of sneak, you know, something in here. The pulley might be in the way, but not 100% sure. But anyways, spare snout that I have. I'm gonna take this, flip it upside down, and first thing you guys see, right? What are all these miscolored, you know, what's all this miscolored things going on here? Well, this spare snout that I do have is actually welded as well. As to who welded it, I have no idea. The welded style that I have on my car right now is actually by Shane, Supercharged Audi Sport, on Instagram. So I've had it on my car for the past 2 years. Again, this right here is the true fix to, you know, resolve everything on this car. That was the biggest issue with this car, is this. No matter if you're stage 1 or stage 2, dual pulley, single pulley, whatever, eventually this clutch is going to burn out and you're going to have slipping issues, which will cause your EPC light to come on, a check engine light, and so on. No power, of course, no boost. It is a great design if you want to keep the car stock, right? So fuel economy. It engages when it hits a certain RPM, which will engage the supercharger to give you boost. Great idea, awesome. I believe the Hellcats, the Dodge Hellcats, have that design as well, if I'm not mistaken. But again, with the Audi, the clutch is exactly a clutch. If you know a clutch on a car, I mean, it's basically brake pad material. It does wear, slippage, it's gonna completely wear out. You'll have dust everywhere, and it's a mess. So whatever. As I get into this, again, where we're at, I have everything loose. This just kind of gives you guys a visual idea as to what we're looking at, right? So again, I don't know who welded this. So unfortunately, I have a welded style that we're going to be taking apart, but it's going to be very similar to your non-welded style and just basically stock one. So as we go through this process, this is how I took it off. Again, we have a T30. These are T30s right here. Actually, let me rewind a little bit. You're going to not want to take these off first, because what's underneath these are actual 10mm bolts. So we'll save those for after we take these off right here. These are 10s, so a 10 socket, put it on there. I actually used, you know, a little electric kind of, I guess you could say impact gun. I just buzzed everything off, which made my life a lot easier, a lot quicker too. So we take these 3 10s off. I'm gonna throw them off to the side here, and we're gonna pop this thing off. It's a little tricky to get off because these metal tabs kind of stick on there. As you see, you just wiggle it off and it'll come off. So these are the 10 mil bolts I was talking about underneath these T30. Basically take the T30 here, right? You take your 10 mil right here, and you do have to take these off. So big have to. Oh, sorry about the camera. Let me move it up a little bit. There we go. So take these off. Once you take these off, it's as simple as, again, you take your T30 and a 10 mil. I'm taking mine off. I'm throwing the bolts on the side here. So this is what they'll look like. Some guys that weld, they actually weld this with this on this. So it's all welded. It's just one big glob of weld. And again, you guys, with the billet insert that Garage Autosports offers, they actually weight matched to the factory style, you know, the inside, the guts of this. They actually weight it so that way you don't have any issues with this spinning, you know, on the supercharger itself, and there's no misbalanced issues. But with these three removed, again, throw them off to the side. You are not going to need them. The only piece you will need is this guy. This guy is going to be important. This is the most important thing that you're going to need from the inside of your supercharger, your stock one. So I'm going to put this off to the side here. Now, the hard part, and I only say hard part is because you have right here, there's a bolt. It's a 16 millimeter bolt. This is socket, simple. Again, mine was loose already. I had everything apart. So this bolt is going to be on there pretty tight. I used my little impact electric wrench or impact gun, a little electric, geez, I can't say that. Electric impact gun right here, right? So D-wall, it doesn't matter. But anything that you have to actually take that off, buzz it off, it'll be easier. Otherwise, get a 3/8 ratchet, whatever you have, a 1/2 inch ratchet, I don't care. This is going to be kind of tight to get off, which sits in there and it's kind of pressed down. So it's torqued pretty well. So we're going to get that off. And now we're to the ugly part. This is going to be kind of the hard part, and just by me putting this, kind of slapping it together, I can already feel that it's on there pretty tight. So what I did is I actually got a rubber mallet. So any rubber mallet will do. Here, let me get the camera on a better angle because I'm going to be fighting this here. So rubber mallet and just kind of see, mine's not even, I just put mine on by hand, and there's splines that this kind of just sucks. There we go. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, I did put a little bit of Siliglide on the splines here, and I'll show you the splines in a second. So what I have here is the inside. This is where the clutch assembly and everything sits. So you can't see the clutch assembly on mine. You guys you're gonna have two separate pieces here. You're gonna have, I don't know if you could see the crack there, is gonna be this metal, and then inside of here is where the clutch assembly is. So that's the only difference between a welded style and a non-welded style, I guess you could say. So with that being said, as you guys could see, I mean, the welds, I don't know if these are good welds. Again, you guys, I don't know who did this style. We're not talking about welding this assembly together when we have an actual fix right here that resolves all of this. And it's as simple as 1, 2, 3, taking apart, putting that in, and you're good to go. So these welds, I'm sure they'll break over time. I'm sure they'll rust. As you guys can see, it's already kind of rusting in there. This isn't the clutch material. Again, you guys, this is welded together. As to this being old clutch material, it's hard to say, but to me, it looks like rust, right? So look inside of this. That is rust. It looks nasty. This is all from basically it being welded together, put together, and being used over time. Again, the one I have on my car has been on there for 2 years. I don't plan on taking that one apart. This is a spare snout that I will be using the billet for, which is the fix, in other words. So this guy here does weigh a lot. like I'd mentioned, they weighed this to go in here to match this entire assembly. There's so many things out there about why you shouldn't weld, why you should weld. If you weld, it's going to add more weight. It's going to throw the rotational, speed or whatever. It's going to make noise. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. The welds will break, and it's all true. It is in a way, but again, I had mine on my car for 2 years and it's, working perfectly fine. Do I beat on my car every day? No. But back to it, the fix. So we get rid of this. You are not going to need this anymore, right? So yours is going to have 2 pieces. You're not going to need this anymore. Get rid of it. Use it as a paperweight. I don't care what you do with it. One big thing here is you'll notice that this connector here, it is basically a magnet, right? So behind this is a magnet, and if I'm not mistaken, this just detects the magnetic force of how much clutch material you do have. It's kind of like it's a sensor, in other words. So this is what the inside looks, basically, right? And this will just pop out. It'll be stuck to that other piece, but it actually comes off, and it's just one solid magnet. I should disclose that when you do this and you get rid of the clutch assembly, you absolutely have to get this car tuned, because if you don't, well, you're going to have an EPC light, check engine light, because the car is not going to function correctly, and it's going to think that this is basically stuck either open or closed. I forget what it is, all the time. And that's what you don't want, right? You want this to think that the car is 100% clutch all the time, and that this is solid. It's one piece. That's, you could tune that. So there are tuners out there that will do that. I know Jackal Motorsport is one of them that will tune for it. But with that being said, back to this. As you guys can see inside here, it's disgusting, right? So that's like that right there. I mean, yeah, it's probably clutch material again, that this was burning over time, and the person that welded this didn't even clean this, welded it, put it back together, called it a day. There is a bearing right in there. As you guys can see, the splines here, this is kind of important too with these splines. And only reason why I say that is because that's what holds everything together, is the splines right here. And then you have the 16 bolt that goes up top. So this is all part magnet to the side. You're not going to need any of that stuff. Now we're just left with the bare housing. The bearing, it feels to me that when I took that 16 bolt out, it's a little notchy, but then when you put the 16 bolt back in, it's actually smooth. If you put pressure on this, it feels smooth. So in my opinion, this bearing is okay. There's nothing wrong with this bearing. It doesn't look charred or burnt up from when they actually had welded this together. So it's not like they welded it basically with it inside. They actually took everything apart like I did, welded it, and then put everything back in. So now we're down to the easy part. And that's as simple as literally taking this guy. Now, again, I'm not going to fully install it because I don't want this fully installed on this spare snout. I'm going to be getting this painted, which then I'll put everything together and cleaned, of course. So this guy, as simple as a drop in, you line up the splines, is a little tight, so you could put some Siliglide on there, whatever it is you got to do, lubricate it, put it together, get it tight. They do supply you with hardware, as I had mentioned, which I'll show you here. I'm going to put that off to the side right there. So you have the washers, you have your, I don't know if this is a 16 bolt, but I'm sure it is. These are all new hardware, so why not use the new hardware? So this is what you're going to be using instead of all of that. So use the 16 bolt, and then you're going to put it in there. And our main important piece, as I mentioned, you guys, this is it right here. All you do is you put this guy on here. It sits right in there perfectly because they're notched right here. Well, this is kind of like where it would sit in these grooves area. As you can see the way they did it, they kind of notched these down here for it to actually sit perfectly. And you can you can't mess this up. It literally sits in place just like that. Sits in place just like that. The new hardware, install the bolts. They tell you to use Loctite. Again, I'll have the description, or I'll have their website down in the description below. That way you guys could just click on it and go on there and read the instructions, read the torque specs, and so on and so forth. In my opinion, yes, it's going to be hard to torque things down. It may be because things are going to be spinning and stuff like that. I don't know what the torque specs are for this. I know a little bit about wrenching here, so tight for me is tight for me. But don't go off my word. Anyways, so there's that, and then you have the black housing that just sits on top of it like this. And that's it, you guys. I mean, this is a solid piece. Like it, you know, it doesn't get any better than this. This is the actual fix. This is what everybody needs. One thing, as you notice, there's a hole here which eliminates that magnet, but if you get it tuned, you won't have to worry about it. It's gonna sit like this on the car, right? So you won't even see the hole. The hole's gonna be underneath. Just leave the connector unplugged, put it off to the side, do whatever it is you gotta do with it. I may be working on a resistor. For those that have it tuned, it may set a soft code. That's just from my experience for it not reading magnetic force or something like that. I don't know what the soft code was, but I may, make some sort of resistor that mimics that if this is actually inside of the snout, and it'll actually match to this connector here. So all it is some sort of resistance, and you'll be good. But that's it. This is it, you guys. This is the fix. Right here, this is what every, CREC engine owner needs. And no matter if you're stage 1, 2, stock, honestly, this will last forever. This is billet, made out of billet. I mean, it's strong. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to break, not going to crack, not going to do anything. So that's it. But all right, you guys, that's it of the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment below. And looking forward to installing this. If you guys haven't watched my last video, you guys will see the supercharger that I am putting on the car with this. So, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.